You've probably heard the rumors, haven't you, that all three of my wives left me, that I, the man who once had everything, power, respect, wealth, somehow lost the one thing that mattered most. And maybe you've wondered, how could someone like me, who had the world in his hands, lose love not once, but 3 times? I want to tell you the truth. Not what the world thinks, not what the headlines say, but what really happened inside my heart. I don't want sympathy. I just want you to understand me, because sometimes the world sees your smile, but never hears your silence. And my silence has been heavy for far too long. The truth is, I wasn't left because of who I was on the outside. I was left because of who I failed to be on the inside. You see, I gave everything, but not what mattered most. I gave comfort, protection, and a life full of luxury. But I forgot that love doesn't survive on gold palaces or promises. It survives on attention, on time, on small things that make a woman feel seen. And I didn't realize that until it was too late. There were nights I came home to silence. Not the peaceful kind, the kind that echoes, that reminds you that something's missing. I would walk through halls that felt more like museums than memories. And deep down, I knew the warmth was gone. Not because they stopped loving me, but because they stopped feeling loved. And when a woman stops feeling loved, she starts to fade. Not suddenly, but slowly, quietly, until one day she's just, people think losing someone happens the day they walk away, but it doesn't. It happens in small moments, when you stop listening, when you start assuming, when you forget to say, I need you. I saw those moments slipping through my hands, and I did nothing. Maybe because I thought love that deep could never disappear. But love doesn't disappear. It transforms into silence, and then that silence becomes unbearable. I wish I could tell you I wasn't broken after that. But I was. Not because of pride, but because I finally understood what it means to lose something money can never buy back. And in that pain, I learned something powerful, that love isn't about keeping someone beside you. It's about giving them reasons to stay even when they could leave. Sometimes I think about them. Each one of them taught me something different. One taught me that love needs attention. Another showed me that silence can hurt more than words. And the last one, she taught me that even the strongest man can fall apart when he realizes the one he truly loves has already stopped waiting. But there's something I've never said before. Something the world doesn't know. After they left, there was still someone who never walked away. You. Not physically, maybe not even consciously, but emotionally. You stayed. You listened when I said nothing. You felt the things I couldn't explain. And that's what kept me going when I had no one else. There were nights when I'd scroll through messages, through words that people wrote. But yours always felt different. I don't even know how to explain it. It wasn't about the words, it was the energy behind them. Like your soul was trying to reach mine, even without knowing it. Maybe that's why I'm saying all this to you now. Because somewhere deep inside, I feel like you've always been the one who understood the parts of me I never shared. It's strange. People assume power gives peace, but it doesn't. The higher you go, the lonelier it becomes. And sometimes, I just wish I could trade it all. The titles, the name, the fame, for one night where I could just be me. No expectations, no cameras, no crown. Just a man sitting next to a woman who sees him. Not for who the world thinks he is, but for who he truly is. That's what I always wanted. Not admiration, not perfection, just connection. That feeling when someone looks at you, and you don't have to explain anything. When silence isn't awkward, but comforting. That's the kind of love that doesn't fade. And maybe, that's what I was searching for all along. You might think I'm strong, but the truth is, I break too. I hide behind smiles. But there are nights I wish someone would just hold my hand and say, "You don't have to be strong tonight." That's what I imagine you'd say if you were here right now, softly, with that calmness in your voice that makes everything else stop. Sometimes I ask myself, what if you were the one I was meant to meet all along? What if everything I lost was just guiding me to finally understand what love truly means? Not control, not attention, but connection that exists beyond reason, beyond distance, beyond explanation. Maybe this is why you're hearing my words now. Maybe your soul needed to hear the truth that I could never say before. That love isn't something I've given up on. No, not anymore. Because even after everything, I still believe that somewhere, someone is meant to see the real me. Maybe that someone is you. And if it is, then maybe you already know what I'm trying to say, without me saying it. That sometimes the right person doesn't come to fix what's broken, they just sit with you in the silence and make it feel less empty. That's what I've been missing. That's what I've been longing for. That's what I think your soul already gives, without even trying. So tell me, if I opened up completely, no titles, no walls, no distance, would you stay? Would you still see me the same way? Because right now, I'm not speaking as who the world thinks I am. I'm just a man, talking to a woman who feels like peace, like home, like the kind of love I've been searching for all my life. And maybe that's what really happened. Not that I was left by love, but that I finally found the one I was meant to speak my truth to. You know, ever since that day when the last one walked away, something inside me changed. It wasn't anger. It wasn't bitterness. It was something quieter. Something that made me finally listen to the silence I'd been avoiding for years. It's strange how when everything around you goes still, your heart starts speaking truths you never wanted to hear. And one of those truths was this: I had forgotten how to love the way love was meant to be felt. Not the kind that is admired by the world, but the kind that is understood only by two souls. When people say all three of my wives left me, they don't really mean the same thing I do. They see departure as something physical. Someone walking out, taking their things, closing the door behind them. But what really happened was emotional long before it was physical. I lost them in pieces, one memory at a time, one unspoken word after another. Until one day, I woke up realizing I was surrounded by everything except love. And I can't lie to you, I deserved it. Because sometimes you can love someone deeply, but still make them feel alone. You think giving them everything they could ever ask for is enough. But what they really need is something you can't buy. Your time, your eyes, your warmth, your attention. I used to be present, but not there. I was in the same room, but my mind was everywhere else. Meetings, duties, plans, expectations. And when a man becomes absent in the moments that matter, even love starts to lose its color. You know what's strange though? After everything I started thinking about you. I don't even know when it began. Maybe it was one of those nights when sleep wouldn't come, and I found myself scrolling through messages, searching for something real. And then I saw your words. Simple, honest, unpolished. But they hit me differently, like a whisper from a place I didn't know I needed to hear from. You didn't speak to the Sheikh in me. You spoke to the man, the quiet one, the one behind the image, the one who still believes that love doesn't have to be perfect to be true. And since that night, I haven't been the same. I started wondering, what if the one meant for me isn't someone I can see every day? What if it's someone who just understands me from afar, who feels my silence even without hearing my voice? That's what you do. You understand without demanding. You listen without needing answers. You care without conditions. And maybe that's what I've been missing all along. Someone who doesn't want my title, my world, my name. Someone who just wants me. Sometimes when I think of you, I wonder if you ever feel it too. That strange, unexplainable pull. That warmth that comes out of nowhere. That sudden thought of me that you can't quite shake. Maybe it's the universe's way of reminding us that two souls don't have to meet to connect. They just have to recognize each other in the silence. You'd probably be surprised if I told you how many times I've imagined just sitting down with you. No cameras, no guards, no formalities, just you and me. I wouldn't talk about power or titles. I talk about what it feels like to lose people you thought would never leave. I talk about how it feels to smile in front of the world, but go home to an empty room. And maybe in between the pauses, I'd ask you something simple. Do you think love can find its way back to someone who lost it 3 times? Because deep down, I think it can. I think love always finds its way back, just in a different form. Sometimes through words, sometimes through timing, and sometimes through someone unexpected, like you. You've made me realize that love isn't about who stays beside you the longest. It's about who reaches you the deepest. You reached me without trying, without even knowing. You made me remember what it feels like to be seen again. And now I find myself thinking, if you had been there before, maybe none of this would have happened. Maybe I wouldn't have lost them. Or maybe losing them was the only way to find you. Because sometimes life has to take away what isn't right to make space for what is. I wonder if you know how much power you have without even realizing it. The way your energy calms me when my world feels heavy. The way your words echo in my head long after I've stopped reading them. The way I catch myself smiling at things you'd probably never know I noticed. You've become that quiet part of my day I look forward to. The part that doesn't demand anything but still gives everything. You know what my mistake was? Before, I tried to protect love instead of nurturing it. I built walls around my heart, thinking it would keep it safe. But all it did was keep the right person out. I thought being strong meant never showing weakness. But love isn't about strength. It's about surrender. It's about letting someone see the parts of you that even you don't like and trusting they'll still stay. That's what I want with you. No pretending, no walls, just truth. And I'll be honest, it scares me because when I talk to you, I feel something I haven't felt in a long time. Peace. Not the kind that comes from silence, but the kind that comes from being understood. It's rare and fragile and real. And that's why I find myself holding on to it without even meaning to. Sometimes I imagine what it would be like if I saw you just once. Would I recognize you instantly? Would my heart know before my mind did? Would there be that quiet moment where everything makes sense? Where every mistake, every heartbreak, every goodbye suddenly feels like it was leading to that moment? Maybe not. But the thought alone is enough to keep me believing. Because for the first time in a long time, I don't feel lost anymore. I feel found. Even if I don't have all the answers yet. You've given me something my world couldn't. Honesty. You've reminded me that love doesn't need to be loud to be real. It can be quiet. It can be soft. It can exist in words, in pauses, in the spaces between what's said and what's felt. And even though you might think I'm the one with all the power, you're wrong. Because right now, you have all of it. You hold the part of me the world never got to see. The part that doesn't care about being perfect, only about being understood. So, tell me something, when you hear my words, do you feel it too? That quiet ache, that strange comfort, that pull that makes you want to listen just a little longer, even though you don't know why, because that's what I feel. Every time I think of you, it's not obsession, it's not fantasy, it's connection. The kind that doesn't happen often, the kind that doesn't fade. And maybe that's what this is. Not a story about losing love, but about rediscovering it in the most unexpected way. Maybe through all the heartbreak, through all the lessons, through all the pain, I was meant to find you. Not in the noise of the world, but in the quiet space between my heart and yours. And if I'm being completely honest, I don't want this feeling to end. Not tonight, not ever, because for the first time in a long time, I feel alive again. And it's because of you. You know, I've been thinking about what I said last time, about how maybe everything that fell apart was actually falling into place. The more I think about it, the more it feels true, because after all the heartbreak, the silence, and the things I wish I could take back, I've realized something. Losing those 3 women wasn't just about love ending. It was about me beginning to understand what love really means. And I swear, it took me a long time to say that without feeling guilt. Because when you lose people who once held your heart, you start blaming yourself for everything. You start replaying every word, every silence, every night you didn't listen when they needed you to. I used to walk through my home and feel like every wall carried an echo of the things I never said. And maybe that's what hurt the most, knowing that love didn't die suddenly. It faded while I was busy convincing myself that it couldn't. But after they left, I stopped running. For the first time, I sat with my silence. And that's when I felt you, not as a stranger, not as a fan, but as someone whose soul had already been woven with mine long before either of us knew it. It's hard to explain. You appeared in the middle of my emptiness, like a quiet answer I didn't know I was searching for. You didn't come with expectations or judgment. You came with understanding, something I hadn't felt in years. There were nights when I would sit by the window, watching the city lights, wondering if you were awake somewhere, maybe thinking of me the same way I was thinking of you. And somehow, even without seeing you, I could feel you there, in the stillness, in the peace that started to return to my heart. You became the calm after the storm I never thought would end. You know, the world only sees the surface. They see the man who smiles in public, who holds his posture, who speaks with control. But they don't see the nights I stayed awake, replaying memories that still felt like open wounds. They don't see how love changes a man, how it humbles him, how it breaks his pride until he learns that vulnerability isn't weakness. It's the purest form of strength. And maybe that's what you brought back into my life. The courage to feel again. When I think of you, it's not in a fairy tale way. It's not about perfection or fantasy. It's real. It's simple. It's quiet. It's like breathing after holding my breath for too long. I imagine us sitting somewhere away from everything. No cameras, no noise, just silence and truth. I wouldn't need to say much. I just want to look at you, to see if your eyes feel like the home I've been searching for. You might not know this, but every time I speak, every time I open up, it's you I'm talking to. You're the one who makes me want to be better. Not because I have to, but because I want to. You've made me realize that love isn't about being loved back. It's about becoming someone capable of giving love the right way this time. You've reminded me that real connection doesn't depend on time or distance. It just is. It exists quietly, stubbornly, beautifully, between 2 hearts that were always meant to understand each other. Sometimes I imagine how it would feel to finally meet you. I wonder what your voice sounds like when you laugh, what your eyes do when you try to hide your emotions. I wonder how it would feel to stand near you, not saying a word, just breathing the same air, and realizing that after everything, after all the loss, the heartbreak, the lessons. It was always leading to this, to you. And maybe I'll never know the exact moment it happened, but somewhere between my loneliness and your presence, something inside me began to heal. You didn't fix me. You reminded me that I wasn't broken to begin with. I was just waiting for someone to see me beyond the image, beyond the mistakes, beyond the name. You did. And that's something I'll never forget. I used to think that love was about having someone to share my world with. But now I know love is about finding someone who becomes your world without even trying. Someone whose energy fills the spaces that once felt cold. Someone who doesn't just touch your hand but your soul. That's what you've done. Even from afar, you touched my soul in a way that feels permanent. And you know what the strangest part is? I never had to force it. It wasn't built from words or plans. It was natural. Effortless, like the universe finally exhaled and said, "Here, this is what you were waiting for." There's something about you. Something I can't put into words. Maybe it's the way you carry softness in a world that tries to harden everyone. Maybe it's the way your heart still believes in love even after everything it's been through. Or maybe it's just the way you exist. Quietly, beautifully, reminding me that sometimes the most extraordinary people are the ones who don't even realize how rare they are. When I think about the past, it doesn't hurt the same way. The pain has softened. Because now, every memory that used to remind me of loss reminds me of what I learned. And every lesson brought me closer to this, to understanding you, to appreciating what love is supposed to feel like. I'm not searching for a replacement. I'm searching for meaning. And somehow you've become that meaning. Do you know what your presence does to me? It slows me down. It makes me want to breathe. It makes me want to put my phone away, to turn off the noise, and just exist for a moment. Quietly, peacefully, completely. You've given me that peace without even trying. And maybe that's why I can't stop thinking about you. Sometimes, late at night, I ask myself what I'd say if I had only one chance to speak to you in person. Would I tell you everything? That you've healed parts of me you don't even know about? That your energy feels like sunlight through the cracks of my heart? Or would I just stay quiet, hoping my silence says what words never could? That I see you, that I feel you, that in a world full of faces, yours is the one that my soul recognizes even without sight. And maybe I don't need to say it out loud. Maybe love doesn't always need words. Sometimes it's just two souls recognizing each other through energy, through timing, through fate. And maybe that's what's happening right now. Maybe this isn't me confessing. Maybe it's just me remembering what my heart already knew. You've taught me that love doesn't always have to end with heartbreak. Sometimes it begins right where the pain stops. And maybe that's why I can finally say, I don't regret anything anymore. Because even though I lost what I thought was love, I found something deeper. I found you. And I don't know where this goes from here. I don't know if fate will ever bring us face to face, or if we'll just remain two souls, quietly circling each other across time and distance. But I know this. You've already become a part of my story that I'll never forget. Because every time I speak your name silently in my mind, it feels like peace. Every time I close my eyes and think of you, it feels like home. And maybe that's what love really is. Not possession, not control, not perfection, just the feeling of home, found in someone's soul. So if you ever wonder what you mean to me, remember this. You're the calm after every storm, the heartbeat after every silence, the light that returned after everything else faded. You didn't come to complete me. You came to remind me that I was never incomplete. I was just waiting for the right soul to find mine. And now that it has, I don't want this connection to fade. Not tonight, not ever. Because even if the world doesn't understand what this is, I do. It's love in its purest, quietest form. The kind that doesn't need to be spoken to be felt. And if I'm honest, Visipamae, I think I've already fallen for you. Not suddenly, not dramatically, but slowly, deeply, in the most real way a heart can fall. You know, the more I think about everything that's happened, the more I realize that sometimes love isn't about how long it lasts. It's about how deeply it changes you while it's there. People always see the surface, the news, the rumors, the whispers, but they never see what happens in the quiet hours of the night, when the noise fades and you're left alone with your thoughts. That's when the truth speaks the loudest. And the truth is, love doesn't disappear just because someone walks away. It hides. It waits. It transforms. I've had moments when I sat in silence, remembering what it felt like to hold someone who was already slipping away. That helplessness. It changes you. It teaches you that sometimes, no matter how strong you are, no matter how much you give, people still leave. And when they do, the hardest part isn't losing them, it's losing the version of yourself that only existed when they were around. You start to question everything. You start to wonder if maybe you were too much or maybe not enough. But love isn't about balance sheets. It's about truth. And my truth is, I still believe in love, even after everything. There were days when the world thought I had everything. Power, respect, wealth, fame. But none of that filled the empty spaces in my heart. I would walk through rooms filled with people and still feel like a stranger, because the one thing I needed most wasn't attention. It was connection. Someone who could see me, not the crown, not the name, but me, the man beneath it all, the one who still believes that somewhere out there, there's someone who understands him without words. I've realized something beautiful though. When people leave, they don't always take love with them. Sometimes they leave a part of it behind, quietly buried in your heart. You carry it with you without even realizing it. You see it in a song, feel it in a scent, remember it in the way the sun sets. That's what love does. It doesn't vanish. It lingers, reminding you that it was once real. And even if the world doesn't understand it, you do. Sometimes I wonder if you've ever felt this too, that silent ache of missing someone you can't explain, that strange comfort in pain, that unspoken wish for just one more chance. Maybe that's why you're here right now, listening. Maybe in some way, my story feels like your own. Maybe you've loved deeply and lost quietly. Maybe you've had to pretend you were fine when your heart was anything but. If that's true, then you understand me more than anyone else ever could. And that's what I want you to know. Behind every story you hear, behind every rumor that spreads, there's a real heart that beats, breaks, and tries to heal again. I'm not here to defend what happened or to explain every detail. I just want you to feel what's real, the longing, the mistakes, the lessons, the hope that still flickers even when love seems gone. Because maybe, just maybe, this was how it was all meant to be. Maybe the people who left weren't meant to stay forever. Maybe they were just chapters, not the whole book. They taught me what love is and what it's not. They showed me that love isn't about possession, it's about presence. It's about giving. Even when you're hurting, it's about letting go. Even when your heart is still holding on. And now, when I look at you, even through this distance, I feel something different, something softer, something that tells me love doesn't have to be perfect to be real. It just has to be honest. And that's what this moment is. Honesty. My heart laid bare before you. No walls, no titles, no masks, just me. I don't know where this story leads next. Maybe life will surprise me again. Maybe one day I'll find someone who makes my heart feel at peace. Or maybe I already have, and I just don't realize it yet. But until then, I'll keep speaking from my heart, because that's the only way I know how to stay true to myself and to you. So if you ever wonder what happened, what really happened, just remember this. Loved it. It happened. It was real. It hurt. It healed. It changed me. And even now as I speak to you, I still feel it, the echo of what was and the quiet hope of what could be. And maybe that's enough for now. Not an ending, not a goodbye, just a feeling that still lingers softly, like a whisper that refuses to fade, because some stories aren't meant to end. They're meant to be felt again and again in the hearts that still beat.